Welcome to the New Planner Podcast, where it's all about helping you successfully enter the financial planning profession and accelerate your financial planning career. This podcast will help you understand the profession, become familiar with the various career paths available to you, and avoid the mistakes that limit your success. Join your host, Caleb Brown, to explore the human side of creating a successful planning career through interviews, personal experience, and insights from the trenches. Let's get started.
Welcome to the 268th episode of the New Planner Podcast. This is Caleb Brown, your host. My guest today is Brennon Holleb, who is a financial planning and wealth management student at Virginia Tech University. Brennon joins the show today to share why he chose to pursue a career in financial planning. Brennon shares how he learned about savings, investing, and the stock market from his grandparents, and how he even met with his grandparents' financial advisor at just 13 years old, who eventually became one of his mentors. He goes on to share how he selected the Virginia Tech Financial Planning Program for an initial visit and why he ultimately chose to enroll there. Stay tuned to the end to learn about all the steps he is taking to make himself a solid entry-level job candidate, even though he's still early in his college career. Plus, what he seeks in a future full-time role post-graduation and tips for new planners. I hope you enjoy this episode with Brennon Holleb. Hey, Brennon, welcome to the New Planner Podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and I can't wait to share my story with you.
Oh, this is going to be so fun. So we met at when I visited Virginia Tech, right? And I think it was you or someone said you and your family like flew out from California to like visit Virginia Tech or something. And like, I just like, I got to talk to this guy. I got to interview this guy. So tell me, like, how did you get interested in financial planning? And then why are you like flying around to all these schools and just didn't go somewhere local? So just start with that, if you would.
Yeah. So I'll start with how I got into financial planning. You know, I may be on the younger side, but I feel like I've been in the world of finance, my entire life. My journey started a long time ago, and it actually started in elementary school when my first memory of money is what I like to call the cookie bank. Because in elementary school, my school had minimum days, and my grandma would always pick me up from school. And that's what I called grandma days. And I'd spend the day with her. But for some reason, every Wednesday, she had to go to her local bank to do something. And she always took me with her. And so then I started going to this bank with her, and they like giving their cookies out to, clients. And I developed a good relationship with the bank tellers and then eventually with the manager. And they eventually knew when I would come into the bank and that I was there for the cookies. So I started getting a great relationship with them. And then every time I'd go to the bank, they'd actually have freshly baked cookies in their lounge waiting for me in the toaster oven. So I'd walk right past the teller, say hi to everyone, say hi to the bank manager, and then go get my cookies. And I guess I might have associated cookies with money or something, because then I started getting curious about, what my grandma was doing, why we kept going to this bank, why I kept getting cookies. And I started asking about money. And that's kind of when I got my first financial literacy lesson. My grandpa, he saw this and he showed me a gold coin and essentially sparked my curiosity for coin collecting. And he introduced what commodities were, what currency was, what money is. And
Wow.
that got me into coin collecting. So then I started coin collecting, and I did that for a while. And, my grandma, she saw that I had this, passion for money, for currency and all that. And so at the age of 13, I took my birthday money, and she set me up with a meeting with her financial advisor. And so I went in there and I took my birthday money and I invested it into my first stock at the age of 13. And I actually invested in Palantir, which is doing really well.
Oh, nice.
So I saw that money, I saw it grow, and I was like, whoa, this is really cool. And the advisor kind of took me under his wing and he explained what the stock market was. And, that was kind of my first introduction into the eighth wonder of the world, compound interest. And I saw my money grow and I thought it was really cool. And that's how I got into the stock market.
Let me just stop you right there. I mean, that I want to continue, but I just want to
Mhm.
that's amazing just on its own. And a couple things there. One, just you recognizing your first memory of money. I mean, at very young age, and then having the family members to be able to talk to you about that stuff and getting that before you had to learn it on your own, because a lot of people never do. But kudos to this advisor who's like, yeah, I'll meet with a 13-year-old. That's amazing. I mean,
Mhm.
instead of like, I mean, and I know your grandma was a client, but still, like, that is really cool that they took the time to do that. And all right, keep going. I interrupted, but I just had a couple thoughts there, and this is like, I'm just like, this is amazing.
Yeah, I'm really grateful
Yeah.
for, my upbringing, and in the end of the day, financial literacy, it's like a language, and if you don't grow up with your family speaking around you or getting exposed to it, you have to go learn it on your own, right? You have to go watch YouTube because we're not really taught in school, or at least I wasn't taught it in school. And so I'm really thankful that, I was born into a family where they knew the importance of, developing financial literacy early. And so this
But they
advice,
weren't financial advice. They're not financial advisors though. No one in your family
no,
is anybody in your family an advisor?
no, no, that's
Wow.
the crazy part. My dad's an architect and my mom's interior designer. So
All right, keep going. I keep interrupting you, but this is really cool. I just keep going. Keep going with your
no,
story.
yeah. And so, the advisor, he was really I was really lucky to, kind of be a mentee of his. And I ended up actually doing some externships and shadow days with him. And that's when I got introduced to what financial planning was. And, I didn't really realize that I wanted to go into financial planning until I saw, the advisor shine the brightest in the darkest of moments when, my grandpa got sick and then eventually passed away. My grandma was stuck with the finances, and he took that main stress off of her life and allowed her to cope, the way she had to. And he essentially became a part of our family in that moment. And he actually really, it was really cool to see, and it developed my relationship with him. He started coming out to my baseball games all throughout high school, and it was just amazing to see that, he didn't just manage our money, he was part of our family. He was the financial, the CFO of our family, and he allowed my grandma to not have to worry about that. And, you know, she coped in the way she had to, and she didn't have to worry about money. And so then that's when I really was like, this is so cool. I can help people in the darkest of times where I can, shine a light. And I really want to do that. And then also at that time, I was just finished up Boy Scouts and I achieved my Eagle rank. And so I knew that I really liked helping people. And then on top of that, I knew that I really liked the financial markets and the financial game. And when it came time to apply for colleges, I realized that this is the only profession that combines both of those, my passion for the financial markets and my passion for helping others. And, I could go manipulate numbers just for the fact of making more numbers, but in the end of the day, like, I don't feel that that's fulfilling. And I really like financial planning and what the profession has to offer.
And this is all happening in California, right? You're a Northern California guy.
Yeah, in San Francisco.
Yep.
This all
All right, keep
happening
going.
there. And so then it came time to apply for college, and I knew I wanted to do this because of, what I explained earlier. And I had a meeting with the advisor, and we actually looked up some of the colleges, and I knew of Virginia Tech because my aunt actually went to school here for her doctorate degree. And Virginia Tech was on the list of one of the highly ranked, programs. So I applied just to see if I get in. At this point, I didn't want to go across the country. I knew that it was cold and it has seasons, and I didn't know if I wanted to, deal with the different environment. I was used to, being in sunny California and that environment. But then I got in, and I scheduled a tour for Virginia Tech. But at the time, I also got into another school, and they were higher up on my list. They were a little closer to home. And so I went to their admitted students day, which meant I didn't go to the Virginia Tech admitted students day because they were on the same weekend. So what my family and I decided to do was, we were already almost across the country. So we decided to just extend our trip and come here to Blacksburg and just, walk around, take a little, not it wasn't like a special tour for admitted students. It was just, a normal tour. And at this point I got accepted into the program, and I knew that Professor Lineberry was, the head professor of the program. So what I did was I reached out to Professor Lineberry. I sent him an email asking if there were any students that I could maybe shadow for the day, see what the day in the life of a financial
Nice
planning
job.
student was
Yeah.
like. And I think this is when, the first sign of, wow, Virginia Tech is something special popped up, because he replied back to me with the idea that he personally could take me around for the day. And that was just crazy to me, that the head professor of the financial plan program would be taking his time out of his day to meet with me, a prospective student who might not even go to Virginia Tech, or might not even end up going to Virginia Tech. And that was amazing. So then I was like, yeah, let's do it. And he met with me and he took me around. And at that time, DDS, which is the new building, just opened up, and they have a stock market room with, the ticker tape all around the top with the ticker symbols, like a mock Wall Street. And he got me in that room, and I looked up, I was just in heaven. It
You were
was great.
sold, huh?
Oh, I was sold, yeah. And then I happened to go on a Monday night, and Financial Plan Association meets every Monday. And first he asked me, "Hey, I have a lecture coming up. Do you want to come and sit in on that?" But I couldn't because I had another tour scheduled. But then he said, "We also have this cool thing called Financial Plan Association, and it's meeting tonight. If you'd like to come to that, you're more than welcome." And so I decided to go, by myself, and I walked into this room of all these college students, and it was pretty intimidating, but that's when, I realized that this is a special place, because as soon as I walked in there, everyone was greeting me. They were, cracking jokes, and made me feel like, I was at home. It was great. Made me feel very comfortable. And, I listened to the speaker that night, and it was obviously a great speaker, and I learned a lot. And then after the meeting, I talked with the president of FP at the time, and she called it the Harvard of financial planning. And I thought that was really cool.
Love it.
And from what I saw that day, I could tell, why it's the Harvard of financial planning. And I mean, to me, it's like, this is the blue chip stock that everybody overlooks, right? There's just so much
Nice.
value that's provided here that people don't realize.
All right, well, can I just stop you 1 second here? I mean, this
Mhm.
is all great stuff. I mean, a couple things that jumped out to me. One, you moved from San Francisco and you're looking at Blacksburg, Virginia. I've spent significant time in both of those cities and they could not be further apart. I mean, that's amazing to me. So kudos for sort of taking a risk and putting yourself out there. But also, too, like here you are going to this FPA meeting, one, reaching out, taking initiative, but going to this FPA meeting. Gen Z doesn't do anything by themselves. They won't even go to lunch. They got to have their buddies to come go out to eat with them. They can't sit by themselves. Like, why were you doing all this? I mean, that's interesting to me.
Mhm. Well, one, I want to be extraordinarily good at what I do. And I feel like, if you aren't in these uncomfortable situations, you'll never grow. And I feel like everything in life is on the other side of taking a little bit of uncomfortable action, towards your goals. And you never know what will happen if you just say yes to an opportunity and go out there and do it, right? And then I just feel like, being there, I had to get the full experience. And this opportunity came up that I had no idea how to react with. And yes, it was uncomfortable, but at the same time, when I went, it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be or as I was making up in my head. And once I was there, I was in the moment and it just everything started to flow.
Really cool. We build it up, and it's always, at least, I mean, I feel like it's never as bad as it seems. Like when we get in there, exactly what you just said. Like we gotta do it. So, your skis are over. You just gotta launch down the run, right? You just gotta go for it. All right. So I keep interrupting you, but like lots of great stuff in there. Okay. So keep going. So
Yeah.
you ended up coming, you obviously came to Virginia Tech because you're there.
hmm Yeah. And I mean, on top of that, the Hokie nation and the Hokie community is really strong. And it's super cool to see, when I was leaving that, when I came to Blacksburg, when I was done with my tour and, I had this great experience at FPA, the thing that kind of sealed the deal was that when I got on the airplane, I was wearing a Virginia Tech Hokies sweatshirt. And in the back of the airplane was a group of students, and they started chanting like "Future Hokie, what's your name?" and like embracing me, which was amazing. And it made me feel so special, and it was like a sign that I just had to come here. And so then yeah, I went home and I accepted it, and here I am. And it's been a crazy journey since I've gotten here.
And you're 1 year under your belt. Is that right? Didn't you start fall of 2024? Is that correct?
Or yeah. Mm-hmm.
So 1 year, I mean, so that puts you at like what, 18, 19 years old? Is that?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, I
I'm
feel like I'm
currently
talking to a
19.
39-year-old, maybe
Yeah, I mean that's
29. That was a compliment, by the way, not a dig.
oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, at my internship, I walked in and I knew I was doing something right because the first advisor I talked to, he said, "How old are you? 22?" And I went, "No, I'm 19." And he's like, "What are you doing here?"
Well, talk
Because
more about that. How did you get the internship? You've got several internships, and you've only been at school
yeah.
1 year.
Yeah, I mean, so I I came to Tech and I had a great year, and I was very involved in FPA, and I loved every meeting of FPA, and all the advisors that came in were just great, and it really sealed the deal for me on this career. And so then I realized that not many people get internships their freshman between freshman and sophomore year, and I really wanted one. So what I ended up doing was I asked everyone I knew, all my family friends and family, if they had an advisor and if they'd be willing to connect me with their advisor. And a lot of them said yes. And I just had a lot of different coffee chats, phone calls, shadow days, and one of the advisors of one of my family friends, I asked if he had any internship opportunities. And he said that he might have one. So then, we met over winter break. And then I kept following up through emails and following up. And then he connected with me with the head of Northern California HR for the firm, and I got an interview and the guy really liked me. So then they ended up creating a position for me at the firm.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime someone creates a position for you, that's really good. So you had the internship. Talk a little bit more about your FPA involvement, because then when you came back to school, just why did you get involved in that, and what are you doing with the student FPA?
Yeah. So FPA, I was mentioning earlier this is like the hidden blue chip stock. And here we have, basis and seed, which are other, fixed income and equity trading. But those are, highly prestigious. And in my opinion, if you want to do financial planning, wealth management, FPA is at their level, if not even higher. The amount of value someone gets out of FPA is just insane. We have so many firms wanting to speak with us that we had to start making Wednesday meetings, not just Monday. So Monday and Wednesday meetings. And so last year, I attended FPA and I really liked it. And I developed a good relationship with the executive board at the time, with the president. They were all super cool, super nice, super welcoming. One of them even recognized me from last year when I came and visited tech. And I was just, the little new kid in the corner of the classroom. And so then I really liked FPA. But the thing was with FPA, we went to meetings and we'd listen to the speaker speak and then we'd leave the meeting. And I just felt like I didn't really get that sense of, community. And it wasn't until one of the last FPA meetings when, I went out there and, started talking to the people around me that I met this really cool kid that I'm now good friends with. And I realized that, FPA is great and we can make it a lot better. And so then by the time, board elections started happening, I just applied to see what would happen. Usually executive board members of FPA are seniors and sometimes juniors, rarely as a freshman, applying to become a board member. And I just, threw my my application in and I saw what would happen. And, I had an interview. And one of the questions was, why would I, choose you instead of someone who's more senior, who's already been through the classes? And my response to that was that I've won the one thing they don't, and that's time. If I implement something today, I have 3 years to follow up that implementation and make sure it sticks for when I'm gone, creating a legacy. Versus if a senior comes in today and they implement something, it may stick for that year, but once they're gone, someone else has to take over, right?
Great point. Good for you. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they really like that, and I had great ideas of making it. I feel like FPA, we need to become a giant, family, and we need to climb the mountain together because we're all in this together, and we want to see everyone succeed. And so I went out there and I had this great interview, great ideas, and they also ended up creating a position for me. And I was elected as one of the, youngest executive board members in program history, which is really cool. And so my main role is I'm part of outreach committee. So what we decided was to move the meetings from 7 to 6:30. And right now I'm basically in charge of what happens from 6:30 to 7, the time before the advisors come and speak to us. And we realized that we could use this time to, develop everyone professionally and also make it a little more social and give people time to interact. So we developed a mentor mentee um, kind of pre-meeting gathering, and we've done resume workshops. We have a LinkedIn workshop coming up. So a bunch of these great things. And then on top of that, our current board, they're all so great and our president's so great. And we're trying to make it a little more social to the point where, we get to know each other in the program and we get to start building those, lasting connections where we can then rely on each other when we're in the profession.
Brennan, awesome stuff. That is really cool. Way to get in there and get on that and just putting yourself out there and I mean, that's the theme, putting yourself out there, putting yourself in uncomfortable positions, just going for it. And just, I mean, the initiative and the follow-up. All right, as we wind down, what are you looking for in terms of internship opportunities and full-time job opportunities when you graduate? Like what would be an ideal firm to join and role and responsibility? Can you describe that for us?
Yeah. So I would say the ideal firm would be obviously one with the path to owning the book of business one day, right? And having equity in the company. But then also, I'm looking for a firm that cares deeply about the development of young advisors. And whereas the young advisor isn't just pushed to the background doing the paperwork, where they're actually sitting in on meetings and learning and asking questions. And also, I think what makes a firm so attractive to, someone who's young like me would be if we get opportunities to interact with executive leadership within the company, where we learn from the person who founded the book, who founded the company, from top managers, top portfolio managers, where we can learn firsthand and get that mentor mentee moments out of the career development that, the path that we're on.
Brennan, excellent stuff. Love the story, love the energy and the passion. It just makes me feel really good. Like, I mean, you're the future of the profession, and there's lots of guys out there and gals out there like you. And this is exciting, and have a fun job because I get to talk to you guys every day, all day during my daily work as new planner in the trenches. But I just any final tips or comments or anything, the closing thoughts that you'd like to share before we end out.
Yeah. I mean, for everyone listening, you might have gotten some hints through my stories, but, in the end of the day, life rewards action. And so I want to say to everyone, learn how to calculate the cost or the opportunity cost of inaction. Just put yourself out there. I came to Virginia Tech not knowing anyone, totally different environment. I didn't have the Northern Virginia connection that 70% of the school has. And I didn't want to be the kid who just stayed in my room all day. So just put yourself out there. I personally just went out and joined every club. I even joined Chocolate Milk Drinking Club just to put my name out there and just to meet people. And it was a great experience. So in the end of the day, just go do it. That's my advice.
Brennan, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really thought this was a great conversation.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the New Planner Podcast. If you're ready to discover the top career paths for financial planners and see which track is best for you, we created a free guide to help you. Grab your copy of the Financial Planner Career Roadmap at newplannerrecruiting.com/roadmap. There, you'll also find more tools and resources all created to help you build a successful financial planning career. Tune back in next week for another episode, and until then, we're here to help you succeed.